Hi, I'm Kate Legg. During 30 years in journalism, I've covered the White House in Washington DC and Parliament House in Canberra. I love the intrigue of what happens behind the scenes, possibly more than the choreographed theatre on the stage. The American television show West Wing lifted the lid on the crazy adrenaline-filled world of political junkies wrestling for advantage and influence over President Bartlett. In Australia, the ABC had fun with The Hollow Men, which centred on the minders and courtiers who pulled the strings for a fictional Prime Minister. Backroom operators tend to stay in the shadows. The textbooks say they should not be seen or heard. But every now and then we can't ignore them. They sleep, eat and breathe politics. They may take the rap and resign spectacularly to lessen the heat on their master, or a leader's change of tactics might focus attention on the slick professional partnership suddenly kicking goals. Sometimes these astute fixers have political ambitions of their own. Arthur Sinodinos, who was John Howard's Chief of Staff, made his debut in the Australian Senate this week. When opposition leader Tony Abbott met Prime Minister Julia Gillard to discuss asylum seeker legislation, the media pack waited outside. Abbott strode from the PM's bunker. At his side was a tall, statuesque woman, unknown to the public at large, but no stranger within the corridors of power. Abbott's recent bounce in the polls and his high-energy roadshow around the country has reporters and commentators talking about the tight-run, disciplined style of Peter Credlin, his Chief of Staff. She's a rare breed. Throughout history, women traditionally have filled secretarial support roles or policy advisory positions. Only 2 women have been appointed Chief of Staff by Australian Prime Ministers. Chief of Staff is a tough gig. Torturous hours, white-knuckle diplomacy, playing bad cop to the leader's nice guy, reprimanding rogue backbenchers, jousting in the tough cut and thrust of Parliament House. It's not for shy retiring types who like to be loved. Australia's leading government scholar, Professor Patrick Weller, describes the Chief of Staff as javelin catcher. Others see the job as mood manager, alter ego, confidant, sounding board. Weller says the true measure of a Chief of Staff is whether he or she can confidently announce what a leader thinks and check later for corroboration. They must read the mind of their master. Credlin believes the leader and the Chief of Staff should have less than a cigarette paper between them. She refused to be interviewed for our story on the influence she wields, but she readily admits to friends she's an alpha female. She calls herself the Queen of No. The allusion to royalty is apt. Credlin's married to Brian Loughnane, the director of the Federal Liberal Party. He runs the machine, she directs the driver. They're as close to political royalty as you can get. Never before in our country's history has a married couple been so closely involved behind the scenes in the fortunes of a political party. The firm grasp of Loughnane and Credlin has caused ripples of resentment and discontent within Liberal ranks. Critics complain Credlin is too close to Abbott, too controlling of his diary, his agenda, his message. But so long as Abbott is inching ahead in the polls, Credlin is untouchable. She's whip-smart, she has a punishing work ethic and is admired for her forensic attention to detail. The politicians in Canberra either love her or loathe her, but even Credlin's detractors respect her formidable talents. Credlin says she has no plans at present to seek office for herself, but she's thought about it out loud from time to time, and no one doubts she's got the ticker for battle. Former Liberal Communications Minister, Senator Helen Coonan, calls Credlin the real deal. Crikey's Power Index crowned her as someone to watch. Read our story in this week's magazine to find out why.